Hey guys, welcome to this video on YouTube. I'm going to go through my favorite book from each month in 2023. This is a video I did on TikTok really quickly, so if you just want to, watch a 2 minute thing as opposed to maybe a 10-minute thing, I don't know how long this is going to be. Please feel free to do that. But I thought I'd kind of just redo it here just to like kind of have like a little bit more chillness to it. That is one thing I'm liking the most about YouTube is just that I can kind of ramble on and I don't have to be like quick cutting everything. So yeah, we're just going to go through my favorite book from each month of last year. It was a great year for reading, the kind of first full year of reading that I've had in my life, which is great. Believe I read about, I think it was something like 40, 45, 46 books, something like that I read last year, which I feel really happy about. I think I had set a goal for myself of 50 books. Maybe it might have been 60. I'm happy with 45. You know what I mean? I think I read some pretty big books, and it was a great time overall. You know what I mean? So the first one for January, I should probably do a better job at hiding these, but we're not going to. So the first one for January, this is kind of the first, I guess you'd say like BookTube, Book Talk, Instabook book that I read. You know, a book that was really hyped up on all these different social media accounts. It was kind of the first for me, and outside of A Court of Thorns and Roses. But that is Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. This is a killer book. I really enjoyed this. It was a very different read for me at the time because it's very there's not like, it's not in the fantasy world, it's not in the Stephen King world. It's kind of just like people current times hanging out. And I really enjoyed that about it. You know, I love the friendship that these guys had with each other. One of the most devastating chapters that I've ever read as well is in this book, and I can't remember exactly the one it is, but you'll know which one I'm talking about if you've read this book. It's upsetting, but it's beautifully done. It's probably the most beautifully done depressing chapter that I've read to date. It really hit perfectly, and it was so poetic and so cool. I really like Gabrielle Zevin's writing. I've also read the bookshop one, the bookstore. What is that called? The Storied Life of AJ Fikry, I want to say. Really like that. Just really nice to read. You know, she's good at writing. And I also just look at this cover. You know what I mean? Super sick. I'm not even really much of a gamer. Even growing up, you know, I kind of was like a kid in the 90s. Even still, I didn't really, outside of like Donkey Kong, I didn't really game a lot, but I still really love this book. So I don't think you need to be a gamer or in the gamer universe to appreciate this. But if you are, I can imagine this book will be that much more enjoyable for you. Just don't feel like you need to be in that world to enjoy it. Fantastic. Really loved it. That was my favorite for January. I'm getting missed calls. It's totally fine. It's totally fine. I am. Oh, yeah. It's one of those numbers that calls you like 3 times in a row. You're like, yeah, that's definitely spam. No need to worry. Or someone's dying. Hopefully that's not the case. Okay. So my favorite read for February was Looking for Alaska by John Green. There's actually going to be 2 John Green books on this list. I really like John Green. I really like him. I think he is fantastic, honestly. He's just there's something about his what do you want, like prose? Is that that's a word I'm learning. Prose that I really enjoy. It kind of just like it feels like how I talk and think, and I really appreciate that about his writing. Wasn't really sure what to expect from this one. I had heard great things. I know it was on like a bunch of banned book lists too, so I was like, "Ooh, okay." Immediately intriguing. That's the funny thing about banned book lists. Every time I see a banned book list, I'm like, "Oh, I want to read everything on there." You know what I mean? It kind of has like the reverse effect, I think. So, yeah, kind of silly. However, Looking for Alaska, you know, college takes place in like a college group of friends, just very kind of character oriented. And I thought that the characters in this book, the people, were just, they're all so different from one another, and they just blend together so well. And I really like that. You know, all like there's like a main friend group, and again, all very different people, but they just fit together in such a fun, unique way that just has you like, you just need to keep reading. You need to keep reading the interactions between these people because it's so addicting. And so that's what I loved about that book, and that was my favorite for February, hands down. Yeah, John Green, man, sick guy. Okay, so we are going to go with what's after February. It is March, and that is Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. This was kind of my first, I want to say, sci-fi book that I read. and I loved it. You know, I don't read a lot of sci-fi. I haven't read a lot of sci-fi since, honestly, unless you include like, Dark Tower and stuff like that. But Dark Matter was awesome. You know, fully one of those immersive stories where I would say this is one of the few books where the story kind of is more addicting than the characters. At least it was for me, and that's a unique situation for me. Usually I'll like a book because I like the people in it. This one, I liked it because of the story. I thought the story was so cool, so unique, so well done, and just had you kind of, it's again, not to be like salesy, but it will kind of had you on the edge of your seat. You just need to know what happens. And so it's a real page turner. Yeah, I mean, real page turner. Dark Matter, Blake Crouch. I've not read anything else by Blake Crouch. But I want to. What's that other one? He's got there's a series, I want to say Pine something series. He's got some Pine series that is apparently incredible. I've heard from a lot of other people that is the one to go for next, so I'll probably try and do that. Definitely check out Dark Matter if you haven't. It's a really fun ride. Not a super long read either, so you can crush that in probably a week. Anyway, okay, moving along. This is April. I'm going to pull up my list here because I feel like I keep messing up my months. April is after March. Okay, so April, I've talked about this book on here before, so I won't go like too heavy on it, but it's another kind of booktube, TikTok, Instagram book, and that is A Little Life. Beautiful. Like, I loved it. I feel like there's a bit of a dual side kind of opinions going on here. People heavily dislike this book. People heavily like this book. I don't think there's a lot of in between, honestly. I'm on the like this book side. I just thought it was beautifully done. We're following these four friends, Jude, JB, Willem, and Malcolm. Still think about them all the time. And it's just a devastating story that had me fully sucked in, fully immersed into their lives. And, I can see that the the pain that is in this book being a little much at times. I can understand that argument, and I feel like that's an argument that a lot of people have about it. It's just too much, I feel like. But hey, I like I like those gut punches. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of them in here, and being sad is fun. So at least for me, it's kind of like my comfort zone. Just being sad, and then I'm like, oh yeah, here I am living my life. And A Little Life was great. So that was my favorite for April. I've not read any other books by her, but I do have, I'll show you real quick. I do have To Paradise here. So I saw this on the shelf at the bookstore, and then I saw that, and I'm like an idiot for signed books, so I was like, heck yeah, I'll get it. And it's got like a little, I don't know if you can see that, a little signature by her in there, so I thought that was super sick. I've heard To Paradise is quite fantastic. I have no idea when I'm going to read this, if I'm completely honest. It's a pretty chunky book, and not on any of my immediate future lists, but I will read that at some point. Okay, moving on to May. May is The Yellow Wallpaper. I've also talked about this one on here, so I won't go too heavy on it. It's a really, really short story. You can read this in probably 20, 30 minutes, and it's well worth your time because it is just a really unnerving, very beautifully written story of, I can't even really say. What I want you to do, and I've said this before, is read this book blind, then do a little search on the author and kind of what this book was meant to be about, and then do a reread. Again, it's only 20, 30 minutes, and you'll love it that much more. And the fact that this book is like over 100 years old, I find really intriguing too. Just reading something like this that's that old, it's like, holy smokes, there's just something very something about that. You know what I mean? So Yellow Wallpaper. So my favorite that was my favorite for May, and that's a really cool copy there too. I think I just got that on the internet. So, but again, it's 100 years old, so I feel like you could find that book pretty easily for free somewhere, like on the internet. Again, it's pretty short. So anyway, okay. So for June, another book I've talked about, Pure and Easy by Susanna Clarke. This is one of my favorite books ever. This is just very much. I saw another video of a gentleman who read this book describing it, and I completely agree with what he said. He said this is more about the vibe than it is about the characters, and that's totally true. You're kind of thrown into this world, this dream world where there's caves and just endless rooms and to discover, and it's kind of surrounded by ocean, and the ocean is a threat. Can wipe through the rooms at any time, and you're just kind of following this character that likes just going and exploring these rooms, and you're kind of just slowly trying to figure out what is even happening here. And so It is kind of more vibey than it is charactery. However, you gotta don't let that intimidate you. Don't let that make you feel like, oh, like I don't know if that would really like capture me. I need to know what's happening or I get confused. It's not like that. You won't be confused, and once you get towards the last bit, you'll be like, what? It's worth it. It's worth it. I thought the ending was so good. You'll get there and you'll be like, duh, it's kind of one of those ones where it really just clicks and you're like, oh my god. Really fantastic. I also heard that Susanna Clark was going through something at the time she wrote this, which kind of really makes the book make all that much more sense. I'm not quite sure what that is, but there's definitely something to that somewhere. Susanna Clark, beautiful book. Definitely one of my favorites of all time so far. So that is clearly my favorite for June. We're going to go to July. Oh my gosh, talking sometimes, you know what I mean? We're already at 11 minutes. I suck at this. Okay. July is Frankenstein. This is the oldest book I've ever read. One of kind of just the classics that you got to read. I really loved it. If I'm being honest, I didn't get through a lot of books in July. I just got through this one and one other, and I can't even remember what it was. So very few to pick from for July. So I picked Frankenstein. I did really love it though. I feel like the story is very relevant, and I thought it was very different from what I was expecting. I feel kind of dumb saying this, but I thought that Frankenstein, I don't know why, I had always thought that Frankenstein was the green monster. I didn't realize that that's not who Frankenstein is. Frankenstein is not anyway. Definitely worth reading. Just, it's, again, not very long, super fun, super relevant. 200 plus years old, just again, kind of similar to the Yellow Wallpaper, just reading something that's that old, but that you can fully digest is kind of interesting. There's something interesting about that. You know what I mean? Like, everybody who was alive when that book came out is dead. And there's, that's just weird and kind of like interesting. Anyway. Okay. So we're going on to, oh my gosh, I screwed this up. I said Frankenstein was for July. That is not true. The reason I screwed that up is because I can't find my physical copy of this. Sorry, Frankenstein was August. July was Killers of the Flower Moon. I can't find my copy, so just pretend it's here. Killers of the Flower Moon is a book I read because I knew the movie was coming out, and I really like Scorsese, and I knew I was going to go see it. So I was like, maybe I'll try. Like, I've never tried reading a book before the movie before. I'd like to experience that. And I was at the bookstore and saw Killers of the Flower Moon on the shelf, and I was like, okay, maybe let's just see. And I sat down, read the first page, and I just could not stop. Immediately sucked in. Stayed at the bookstore for the first 3-4 chapters, and then I was like, okay, I'm buying this. And I went home and finished it the next day. I thought it was so the story is just so insane. That it's kind of just one of those, I can't believe this is a real thing that I'm reading. Very well written. There's actually 2 by oh my gosh, David Grann, right? David Grann. I've got 2 books by David Grann on this list. Really enjoyed David Grann. David Grann and John Green were kind of like my peaks this year, outside of Stephen King, obviously. I didn't include any Stephen King books on this list. I should have mentioned that too. I'm gonna do a separate thing for my favorite books by him this month. For each month last year, because I just read so many Stephen King books that if I included him, he'd be like 80% of the list. So this is excluding Stephen King. I probably should have mentioned that. However, yeah, Killers of the Flower Moon, well worth your time. Very interesting, very crazy. I will go to September now. September was a sick one. We got The Exorcist. This is a cover. So I was actually at the bookstore and I saw this on the shelf and I was like, I want to read The Exorcist. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. I watch it all the time. It's like my comfort movie. It just makes me happy. I just really enjoy The Exorcist. And so I was like, I got to read the book. But the cover that they had at the bookstore, I thought was brutal. It looked like a video game kind of character, that was kind of supposed to be scary, but wasn't. So I saw that, and that was the soft cover, and they had a hardcover of the same kind of release. That was a different cover. And I just think that is perfect. That is what you want for this story. Just creepy, realist. It's just ugh. So yeah, I got that one. So I was psyched on that. But this book is, everything I wanted it to be. If you even kind of like the movie, you're going to love the book. It is beautifully written, very scary. I, again, had seen the movie so many times, so I was kind of like, is this book going to almost be a little redundant? Because I know the story inside and out from the movie. fantastic. It's again, real page turner, really scary, and the vibes are just so on point in that book. I feel like an idiot saying that, like the vibes are on point, but it's just it's really good. Definitely, definitely read that one if you like scary books. If you're a little scared of scary books, maybe stay away from that one. But I don't know. I don't know. It's real good. We're going to go into October. October was not a scary book, oddly enough. It was The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. This is the other John Green book that was on the list. Love, love, love this book. It was a it was a painful story, honestly. But again, John Green has such a way with combining humor with pain, and I feel that in my bones as a person, who has a tough time being too serious, So I thought that just joining these characters on this journey through, I don't want to give anything away, but kind of, they're both very sick, and just kind of experiencing the ride with them, and the characters themselves they're just such funny, unique people, and the humor in this book is killer. I thought it really made me laugh out loud, and then it also just punched me in the face so hard. You know what I mean? So really good emotion book. If you like feeling things, I would read Fault in Our Stars by John Green. You'll feel so many things, and it's a lot. Moving along, guys. We are in November. Go figure. We are going to go with The Wager. This is the other David Grann book. You've probably seen this one on the shelves. This is one of the newer ones that I've read in terms of like it actually. I think this actually came out last year, and it is awesome. I don't read a lot of nonfiction. I don't know if I have any other nonfiction on here. I don't think I did. No. Oh no, Killers of the Flower Moon, of course, by David Grann. But I read Killers of the Flower Moon, and I was like, I got to see what else this guy's doing. And then I realized, oh yeah, that really sick cover that I keep seeing, that's by him too. I'll check that out. And it is just so good. If you like adventure and survival and intrigue and just it's got everything. And there's something about the way David Grann researches these books that is just incredible. This took place in, when was it, like 1700s? I want to say the 1700s, and you'd swear this happened like a couple weeks ago, because the detail that he pulls out from like all the individual characters in the story and just the story itself, it's like, how did you find that out? How do you know this? You know what I mean? There's just so much detail in the story that it really makes it truly incredible. I would say too, if you are going to pick this one up, I love the whole thing, but it really does get going around the 70 page mark. So make sure you at least read until then before you stop. But you're not going to stop. It is really something. And also just experiencing what these sailors had to go through on these ships is absolutely nuts. Oh, sorry, I thought I would stop recording. I would die. I would be dead in like 5 seconds. There's no shot I would ever survive this. And so just that aspect of it too is really interesting. Okay. All right, so we're on to the last book. A lot of you are probably going to know what it is, and it is one of the greatest books of all time. As a new reader, I can confidently say that, I think. It is Lonesome Dove for December by Larry McMurtry. Just one of the greatest books that I've ever read. It's interesting because this is a chunker of a book. This is just about 900 pages, and so that's a doozy right in itself. And it's a Western. So, I feel like a lot of people are going to say, oh, a 900 page Western. I'm good. I'll pass. Don't let that discourage you, because this really is just, I can't even I have a tough time describing things in general, but I just feel like this is going to change your life. It is really that good. The characters are the best characters I've ever written. The dialogue, read. I always say written. Ever read. The dialogue is insane. Larry McMurtry has the most realistic dialogue I think I've ever read, and I just could not get enough of this book. It's dudes, like if you're scared of Westerns and chunky books and you want to get over that fear, get Lonesome Dove, read it, love your life. And then, I'm going to read hopefully some more by Larry McMurtry. I think the next one is Streets of Laredo, which is the sequel to this. And then there's 2 prequels as well. So we can continue on with this, which is exciting. However, start with Lonesome Dove, obviously. And just be better. just be better. You know what I mean? You're going to read this and be like, yeah, I read Lonesome Dove. I'm the coolest. So those are my favorite books from each month of last year. Yeah, just a good, what a sick lineup. I was really happy with last year's reading. I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to be reading this year. I'll probably do another video on the books I intend to read this year. Kind of trying to finesse it a little bit to make sure that it's all good. Okay, so that was the video. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it. And you have yourself the best day. Love ya.